going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Brightburn. So Brightburn stars Elizabeth Banks, David Denman, right? Denman, David Denman.
Not denim. Denim jacket.
So Brightburn stars Elizabeth Banks, David Denman, and Jackson A. Dunn, and is essentially the story of what if Superman was evil. I was really bummed to miss this in theaters. My girlfriend Haley and I had tickets on 2 separate occasions to watch this movie and had to exchange them via the A-list, AMC A-list. And yeah, it just didn't work out for us timeline-wise as far as our work schedules and things like that. Things just kind of kept getting in the way. I was really bummed about it, but then I finally got it on Blu-ray, finally got to check it out recently, and I was really interested to check it out. There was something about that story that seemed so interesting to me. I think it's no surprise if you've been watching this channel for a while that I'm a huge fan of comic book movies. Superman is just one of those characters that I've always just had an affinity for. I love so much. I always have a great time seeing him involved in new DC stories, and I always just have a great time going back and revisiting those old Christopher Reeve films. I just love Superman on an overall level. Sometimes his character can be written into things in a very strange way, and I think that that's kind of comes with the territory of a character who's just all powerful, but I always just love the character, and I always have a great time checking him out. So when I heard that they were going to be making this horror movie that was going to center on evil Superman, essentially what if Superman really thought he was superior and wanted to kill everybody, that seems so cool to me, right? That's such a common thing in any story with Superman. That's literally the reason Lex Luthor wants to take him down in most iterations of the story, is essentially you have this all-powerful being, this alien creature, and a lot of people in this world, Batman vs Superman did the same kind of thing, where you have people who look at this character and think, what if he just wants to destroy us all? And if he wants to, he can without any hesitation. And I love that idea, and I was really interested to check this film out. I'll go ahead and say right now, one thing I enjoyed about the film on an overall level were the performances, more specifically from Elizabeth Banks and David Denman. They give really solid performances as his parents in this movie. Of course, this film does not have the actual names of the Superman story. This is not a film made by DC, but it's a film that's based on that same premise. You have a farm family or a farm couple that finds this spaceship that crash lands in their backyard or out in the woods in their backyard that happens to have this little baby inside of it. They take him in and they end up adopting the child as their own, and they end up keeping the spaceship under their barn, or kind of locked into their barn. But this time they flip it around. He's not the Clark Kent that we all know and love that wants to save the world and is just a pure beacon of hope and light. He's a kid that one day at the age of 13 snaps. This spacecraft decides to kind of call to him. It calls to him with these different kind of visions and things in his head. He starts to kind of lose who he is, and he's no longer the young boy that they raised and that they loved, and he's now turning into this monster. He realizes that he's superior and essentially just likes it. He wants to be superior. He loves the idea that he is stronger than everybody, and he wants to take control of everything. And what I didn't like about this film on some levels was that it just didn't do what it could have done with that premise, or at least what I hoped that they would have done. I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed it visually. I think that there's a lot about the cinematography, the overall feel and vibe of the film that I think is done really, really well. There are some excellent moments in this film as far as how he uses his powers to kill people or to hurt people or to creep people out that I felt were really effectively done in this film. I really enjoyed Jackson A. Dunn as this little evil Superman. He does a great job of playing this young Superman who's kind of emotionless, that just kind of is there to, you know, be a creep. And in a lot of the scenes, he does a really great job of selling that kind of character in this movie. There's a lot of moments in this film that did feel eerie. The overall aesthetic and feel and vibe, the score was all really solid and kind of leaned into this very creepy idea. However, I just feel by the end of the movie, there was a lot of moments that just kind of felt bland, and I just found myself wishing that there was more to this movie. I think it's a really cool premise, and I do recommend it. However, I do feel like you should go into this movie with fairly tame expectations, because it's not a film that's absolutely mind-blowing. They don't take this idea that's super awesome and super unique. You know, it is a Superman story, but you know, we haven't seen a movie that showed it in this way, and I think to take that story and kind of do this creepy horror vibe to it, there's a lot about it that works for me. There's a lot about it that I thought was really cool, but at the end of the day, I didn't really feel compelled by the story. I felt like it was fairly predictable in almost every way, and there weren't very many things that I found myself latched onto. There weren't really any characters that I cared about. It was just kind of watching the events unfold in a cool way to kind of see what would happen, but at the end of the film I found myself not caring as much as I was hoping to care, and not really feeling like the story was all that gripping. Another thing that I guess I was kind of hoping they would do, but they didn't do, and it's not necessarily a huge negative for me, but I would have loved to have seen this character get a little bit older throughout the film. He remains as the young 13-year-old kid throughout the runtime of this film. The movie ends with him being that way, and it ends in a very doom and gloom kind of way. There isn't a hopeful ending to this film. It's not a film that, again, that I feel like there's much to really root for. You know, you are kind of just watching the unraveling of this character and this kid that, you know, at one point was kind of good, I guess, but you don't really have enough time with him being good until he's already turning evil. And by the time he turns evil, you're kind of just watching because it's a cool premise, and you're, if anything, you're rooting for his parents and you're kind of worried for them. But there are so many signs throughout this movie where you feel like they did not handle this correctly. As my girlfriend and I were watching this, we couldn't help but think every sign that could possibly be a negative sign was right in their face. They should have been more concerned far earlier in the film, and by the time they're concerned, it's far too late. People have died, people have gotten injured, and it just feels like the writing just kind of felt a little bit lazy, and it just felt like there wasn't really much meat on the bone. So yeah, guys, visually, I think there's some really cool stuff here. I think the concept is really cool. As a fan of Superman, I'm enjoying having this film in my collection, and I enjoyed watching it on an overall level. This was not a drag. This was not a bad film. I just think I found myself a little disappointed only because of the fact that I love the idea of an evil Superman film that really goes for it, and in a lot of ways there are some sequences in this film where it really goes for it, but by the end of the film I found myself just wishing there was a little bit more to it, and more specifically in the narrative. You can have a great idea, you can have a great visual idea, you can have some great music, some great aesthetic moments, and some things that are really genuinely creepy and awesome, but if the movie doesn't really have much on the bone as far as the narrative, what is there really to root for? You know what I mean? So that's what I'll say about this film. I liked a lot about it. I do recommend it, and more than anything, I would love to hear what you guys have to say. So leave those comments down below. Did you love this movie? And if you did love it, tell me what it was that maybe really gripped onto you. I am looking forward to revisiting it as time goes on. A lot about this movie I thought was so cool. So that's why it's a film that I think I have to recommend it, and I am happy to have it in my collection. It is a film I do see myself revisiting as time goes on. But by the end of the runtime, I just found myself wishing there was a little bit more to root for, a little bit more to be kind of clung onto as far as the story goes, and I just did not find myself emotionally gripped or really caring about anybody or anything happening in this movie. And if it wasn't for the idea that this is a Superman evil story and I already have an attachment to Superman, I can't really see myself having cared about this movie as it being anything other than just your other run-of-the-mill horror film. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be my thoughts as usual. Please leave your comments down below. Be as honest as you want. Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this video. It really helps the channel out. Hit that subscribe button if you guys want to see more videos. I will see you guys in the next one. Appreciate all the love and support that you guys have continually been giving me. And as usual, I will see each and every single one of you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.